Afternoon, YouTubers. Rod here. I thought maybe today I would do a review of a vintage gun I have. It'll be my 43 Mauser, model 7184. I purchased this gun at a gun show for 80 bucks. The guy sold it cheap because he didn't have any ammunition. So this one actually shoots really good. The barrel's just pretty much like new inside. This one's a repeater. As you see there on the side, that's the selector switch. Right now it's in single shot mode, but when you pull that lever back, the elevator ramp right there goes down, and I'll demonstrate that here. You flick it back and push her down, and down inside there it's like a 30-30 tube under the barrel. So when the bolt is when the shell comes out of the chamber, or out of the tube onto the ramp, I lift it up, your shell comes up in here, put her in, close her down. That ramp went back down to take another shell out. Now there's one in the chamber and one in the elevator ramp. It has your typical Mauser wing safety. And overall, I mean, the gun's in good shape. Marking right there, Frederick Wilhelm of Germany. Serial number on this one's really low. It's 1114. The conversions like this from the long rifle to these shortened rifles was very common here in Canada. They've used them extensively for moose hunting and deer hunting here, and for bears. I mean, it's a pretty beefy round. I mean, anybody knows 43 Mauser. I mean, it's basically a 45-70 is what you got. It's a European variant of a 45-70. It's just used as a different casing. Now, speaking of casings, I lucked out into something here the other day. A friend of mine in New Brunswick just happened to have some brand new Bertram brass in 43 Mauser, and I'll open the box here, and you can see down here some nice new cases, brand smoking new. So I want to put them to use. I'll go over a little bit of the load data that I use in my gun. I have tried black powder. Don't like it. It's real dirty. I find it leaves a lot of crud inside the chamber and makes like chambering the next round kind of hard, and it's almost like shooting a muzzleloader with a cartridge. You got to, every so many rounds you have to clean the barrel out. But I've got a couple of different loads that I use and that are proven to be very, very cost effective and shoulder friendly. One load that I use is here's, let me set this down here, and let me see if I got this here. Flip you upside down. Still upside down. Anyhow, I use 29 grains of SR or IMR SR 4759, and I always use a Dacron filler. The key to a Dacron filler for a powder in a small dose, such as only this round here, this is on the original Dominion cartridge brass here. I don't know if you can see that right there. There we go. Dominion right there. That's an original Dominion brass casing, and that's the RCBS 395 grain flat base hard cast lead. This load is actually the equivalent to the black powder military loading of 77 grains of black powder. The case capacity with SR 4759 is at 38%. That's what you figure it out at. There's only a few powders you can do it with, and SR 4759 is one of them. Because of it's kind of a bulky long strand powder, but it's very fast. It's a good powder. I find it burns clean, a lot cleaner than IMR 3031. That leaves a lot of residue in the barrel, but it's accurate too. This load is going to put it out at about out of this gun here, we chronographed it just a little over 1,400 feet per second, and plenty fast. And it's going to drop anything. There's nothing walking away from it. You do your job, it does its job. That's the way it goes. Now, my plinking load to play around at the range now is I use, now I'll show you something here. Just give me a second. Get these out of the case here. Okay. This is a reformed 348 Winchester case right here. You can see the name on the bottom there, Winchester 348. I use the same bullet. And as you can see, when I seat them to the same length as I do in the military or in the Dominion brass, you see where the bullet is seated out slightly further. However, the overall length from the other cartridge I showed you to this one is the same. It fire forms perfectly, as you can see. And the rim's just a little different, but I'll show you what I did to the rim. You'll notice that little bevel I put on there. Right there. You see it? Well, I spin this in a 1/2-inch drill and I run a file on it, and you'll see where I had to run these cases down on a lathe and turn the excess material down about right there. You can see a line. Well, that's where when you run them through a factory sizing die, you push it down, that's where she stops. There's just a build up into material. You're pushing material down as the die is compressing the case to be that size. So what I done is I went to a friend of mine that has a lathe. I put these in the lathe and I turned them down here until I got a concentric case wall diameter, and I measured the brass for thickness inside to make sure it wasn't going to separate on me, because I've already had that happen once. I took too much off. Didn't hurt anything, didn't hurt the gun at all. Another casing that I use, and it's very easy to attain, is 4570. But as you can see, these little buggers, see how far the bullet sits out? And again, that's seated to the overall length of the factory cartridges. And you'll notice on the bottom of these cases, that's not head spacing issues. This is what happens when you use a 4570. The brass is a little shorter, so it's going to swell up in the web of the case. And I've fired this case probably, I don't know, 3 dozen times. I've never trimmed it. And that's Remington Peters brass. It's good. Now the load I use in this is, I believe, 13.5 grains of unique. Now unique, it is what it is. It is unique. It's got 100 uses. It gives around 1120 feet per second, which is a good plinking load. And actually, it's powerful enough to kill a deer at, moderate range. I wouldn't go shooting a country mile with it because you got the trajectory of a lob ball. But anyhow, speaking generally, any bullet like that traveling at 1100, 1200, 1300 feet per second is going to pretty much do its job on anything. That's basically the old velocities, the old black powder cartridges. The unique powder burns very clean. I like it. Another powder I've experimented with it is H4895 at 32 grains, and I use Dacron fillers in all these loads because of small amounts of powder in a very large case. Same with my 4570. If I'm using 2400 powder in there at 26 grains, I use the Dacron fill to go behind it. Now, all my bullets I use and I shoot are RCBS 395s in this particular Mauser, but I use this item here. Actually, I don't know if I can show you the right way because of the way I got my camera, but this is SPG bullet lube, and it's black powder lube, and it's excellent. I like using it. I've got an old bottle here too. It's called Safari Lube. I bought it at a yard sale for 25 cents. And it was like a very a white pasty material. It was for muzzle loading, but I've tried it on them bullets and it worked fine. So, generally any smokeless powder lube will do. Some are better than others, but SPG is kind of like a converse thing, black powder and smokeless. So, anyhow, something else I'll show you here. I don't know if this will come up plain, but there you go. Right now, I'll see if I can do this. This is a box of 43 Mauser factory cartridges from Dominion for the Model 71. And I'll open her up and I'll show you. I'm from Nova Scotia, and there is a bit of this stuff lying around because a lot of stores used to sell it here, at like hardware stores. And there we go, a full box of factory loaded Dominion. Generally at a gun show, a box of shells like this, about 120 bucks. But I load my own. I also have another, I got another full box here. This is all Dominion brass I picked up from gun shows and from guys that had it, and loose rounds, and generally it's all the same. This is also loaded with the 4759. I'll show you the back of this cartridge, a little different. It's actually a Dominion, a really old Dominion. It's probably from the 30s, 40s. And this is really good brass. People say it's not, so I disagree with them on that. I only lost a couple of cases, and it was my fault. I forgot to put Dacron in there, and it made a little pressure spike, and it cracked the casing in the base. I wish I had one here to show you how it cracked, but I'll show you just on a cartridge here. You see where this very thin head is here? Well, these are called balloon head cases. You can see a little ridge there. That's the only little part of the case that's solid. And the primer pockets on these, they float way up inside. It's called a balloon head case. Now, if these have any little deficiencies or anything in the case, if there's a spike in pressure back here, it generally wants to find the weakest way out. And it's usually just ahead of that little thing there. That's where the brass is as it gets thin. I've had a couple crack right into the primer pocket right in the back here. Like you see where the 43M mark is. I've had it crack right up through there into the rim, and I've had gas come back on my face. But I'm still here. I can still see. And if you keep the loads moderate and don't go hot rodding it, I mean, you generally don't exceed any books. Like I got a set of lead eyes, and it came with some information for IMR 4198. Anywhere from 31 to 33 grains was acceptable, but you can even try a little. If you don't want to go even to 31, you can try like 30, 29.5, you know. And it depends on your rifle too. I mean, some of these rifles are in really piss poor shape. I mean, they've seen the end of the world come. And as far as this rifle here and my other rifle, if you want to bear with me just a moment, I'll just go in my cabinet and I'll show you my other 43 Mauser. This one's kind of funky. It is nowhere near military. I got a friend of mine that's really handy, and this was my first 43 Mauser I ever owned. And you look at this little thing, and the action is color case hardened. So is the bolt, and the bore in this thing is mint. This thing shoots like a tack. Now, I also have a BSA Globe front sight on there. Now, this rifle's still in the works. I still have some work to do to it. It's got the original military rear sight that flips up. And squeeze this here and up, down. Or you can flip it down and you can use this sight. You can use this sight. And I don't know, if you really think you want to be like Quigley down under, you can use that sight way up here. And that's marked at 1500 meters. Of course, it's metric, it's European. Anyhow, this gun actually had some really nice wood on it, and I refinished it myself, I think when I was probably 16 years old. Even the butt plate here, he did the butt plate. All the screws and whatnot are all niter blued, and this wood is, it's got, see, there's a nice view of the fiddleback going through it. You know, they really put some good quality in these old girls back then. I mean, they weren't cheaply made. I mean, the Germans didn't skimp out on anything. The gun works fine. It's the same setup. It's the 7184. This one's got a lot of sentimental value to me because a deceased gunsmith friend of mine had it on his shelf, and I walked in one day and he says, "You know, Rod," he says, "that gun says you all over it." I said, "Well, I don't have any ammo." So he gave me 6 boxes of ammo with it. I bought the gun for $200 with 6 boxes of ammo. And I bought this one. As you can see here, it's nice. This is all original. In its like the finish is original. The wood's of course showing its age. I mean, you're talking guns are built in 1888 here. And in general, this one is missing the rear sight, but it's got the 3-position flip. It's got this sight up here, and this one right down here where my thumb's at, and then there's another one you can flip it over here. I can demonstrate that here. There you go. So there's the other sight right there, and you can flip that up like that. So that's, I believe it's 100, 200, and 300 meters is what they had them at. A lot of these conversions, they came with the bolt handle bent down. Now this is not a completely matching gun. The bolt body itself is a different number than the gun, but the bolt, the action, the barrel, trigger guard, and all other metal pieces in this gun have the exact numbers, all the barrel bands. A lot of these guns were imported into Canada back in the early days when you bought Dominion ammo for $3 a box, because my grandfather used to have one of these rifles, use it for deer hunting, and he used to buy ammo at a store out here called LeBrun's, and it was $3.50 a box for that stuff I have there. And you could buy the guns for about the same, about $4 or $5 a gun. But this one's just a little different here. It's got the crescent style butt pad, and the other one's a shotgun style. And what's also interesting about this rifle is that the barrel diameter is stamped on here as 11 millimeter. My other gun is stamped 10.95, so there's a little difference there in the maybe the manufacturing process. But I know the rifling on these guns compared to the Model 71 is totally different. So is the bore diameter. The bore diameter on this gun runs a 4.46. On the Model 71 it runs a 4.51, like a pistol. So you can use pistol bullets in the other gun. It's actually like a 45. This one here shoots a 4.47 diameter RCBS bullet that I use, and I lubed it, sized it to 4.47 out of the mold. Anyhow, and it shoots extremely well. I mean, this gun shoots about at 50 yards with open sights, 1.5 inch group with that SR 4759 load, and at 100 yards I'm getting about a 3.5 inch group with iron sights, and that's not bad for a gun that's they're not a long distance gun. I mean, it's like shooting a 20 gauge with a slug or a 28 gauge with a slug with rifling. That's basically what you have. I do have some shot shells here for it that I've made, and the rifling's shallow enough in the 7184s you can actually you could use it for a shotgun. I've never tried to really hunt with it as a shotgun, but shot cartridges used to be available from Dominion. I actually have a couple in my cartridge collection. They had like a wooden insert on the top, or a plastic capsule insert, and as it escaped the barrel, it broke away like a sabot, and then the pattern opened up a little bit. But I've had guys tell me that it really plugs up the rifling, and it's a pain in the butt to clean afterwards. So use the rifle for what she was made for. It's a rifle. If it was a shotgun, they would have called it a shotgun. But anyhow, you'll see a lot of these actions used actually in German shotguns. I've seen some bolt action single shot 410s with this action. I've actually seen some 16 gauges and even a couple 12s using this action. So that's my little splurge on it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and press the like button if you want. And if you want to press the dislike button, press the dislike button. That's no problem. Anyway, catch you later.